The essential elements in building a resilient community boil down to four things, each of which is rather complicated. The first is the degree of connectivity in the community. How well are the individuals, the households, the organizations, and the corporations in that community tied together? Do they know each other? Do they work with one another? Do they reinforce one another in their emergency preparedness? Second is how much they know about their risks. An awful lot of communities just think of one kind of risk that they should be resilient to. So in parts of Australia, it's fires. In other areas, it's typhoons or hurricanes or floods. And yet there are many kinds of disasters, those associated with transportation disasters, for example, that can happen anywhere. And so getting people to think broadly about what the risks are and how they can be prepared for those risks. The third area is planning and preparation. Have you got plans for a variety of disasters? And do different groups in the community know each other's plans? If you're a corporation, do you know what the community thinks you would do in a disaster? And and what do you think the community will do for you? If you haven't had that conversation, you may be in for some huge surprises when a problem arises. So bringing people together. And then finally, you obviously do need some resources. You need to have some backup supplies and some key equipment and some redundant materials that will help you work. But resilience isn't a steady state. It's a process. It always needs to be looked at. It always needs to grow. It always needs to develop. Because if you ignore it for a while, our model of resilience is rather like a rubber ball. And I don't know if you've ever had a rubber ball that sat out in the sun for a whole summer, and then you went out and tried to bounce it and it just went bleh, because it had no resilience left. Or you let it get too cold and it froze and it cracked when you tried to use it. So resilience requires constant attention, paying attention to the pieces, how they will work together, and how they can develop together in order to support a more resilient, growing, developing community.